Here's a segment from the latest edition of St. Charles Parish Today, a monthly local talk show.
Have you ever wondered what happens to properties that the government is forced to seize? Naturally, we assume that they are resold, but how does one go about purchasing them? If you're interested, you'll be pleased to hear that St. Charles Parish is making that process much easier for prospective buyers. Joining me on the show today to give us more information on this endeavor is Planning and Zoning Director Michael Albert and Stephen Morrell with Civic Source. Thank you guys for coming on the show with me today.
Thanks for having us.
All right, let's get into it. What is an adjudicated property?
An adjudicated property is a piece of ground that has failed to sell at sheriff's sale, and the parish is now the custodian of it.
How were these properties being sold prior to this new system?
Well, they actually kind of weren't. It had been a really long time, so we were seeing an amassment of properties that the parish was responsible for maintenance of and general care on. The staff at P&Z noticed that we were increasing our budget for grounds maintenance on these properties on a yearly basis.
By that you mean like cutting grass? And
cutting
things like
grass, that? Yeah, sometimes demolishing derelict structures. And they really took it upon themselves to find a way to resolve the problem.
And Stephen, this is a new thing, this whole online system. So could you kind of explain how it's going to work?
Sure. Civic Source is a technology firm that has worked with Louisiana government for a decade now in helping to comply with all the legal requirements for government to be able to responsibly put these properties back into commerce. So for the adjudicated properties, for the last couple of years, Civic Source will take all of the inventory of adjudicated properties that have been sitting out of commerce for at least 5 years, and will clean them up by validating that they are still eligible to be sold and put them on their website to attract interest, to inform the public that these are out there. Many times these go unnoticed. There's no for sale sign in the yard, they are overgrown, but people don't understand that there is a legal process to go about acquiring these. But obviously it has to be done responsibly and legally. There are people who used to have an interest in those properties that need to be notified, and Civic Source handles all of that for the governing authority so that it can be done correctly. Civic Source hosts an auction on the first Wednesday of every month for all of its clients. Whether or not there'll be a property in that auction in St. Charles Parish will be dependent upon whether or not someone's put a deposit down. It's cleared about a 60 to 90 day legal process, and then it'll be put into the next monthly auction, assuming it's been approved for title insurance, which is key.
Let's talk about price. Are they being sold at a reasonable price, these properties, or what determines the price?
So it's really the cost of clearing the title. It's the closing costs. It's the state law has allowed governing authorities, this is a last option. This is not trying to get the taxes back, definitely, or it's not trying to get some appraised value. The statute allows parishes like St. Charles Parish and across the state to be able to put these up for $0 to attract the highest bid. And of course you have to pay to clear the title and to pay for title insurance and that kind of thing. But so the starting price is actually 0 plus closing costs.
Awesome. So back to Michael. What are and I think we kind of hit on it, but what are the benefits of us using this system as opposed to what we were doing before?
Well, first off, we're saving the parish money. Every year, that's maintenance costs that we're not spending sending out grass cutters or tending to structures that no one is living in. So we're able to reduce part of our budget in terms of care. But more importantly, it's a matter of neighborhood restoration. You're putting these properties back into commerce. You're giving a new family a chance to come into the parish, purchase land at a very reasonable price, and get started living and working in St. Charles Parish. So it's really a matter of neighborhood revitalization, getting these pieces of ground back out to where they're usable and enjoyable.
You had mentioned that this was the last option. What steps are taken for the original owners to reclaim the property?
Well, initially this was a property that the taxes were owed upon. So that original year where the taxes were owed, tax bills were mailed out, they weren't paid. The following year, St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Office would have held a tax sale, which would just be selling the delinquent taxes to someone else. Essentially, that's just to gain interest on that, on a investment for somebody to loan the delinquent money. And remember, these properties, as Michael pointed out, are the ones that nobody actually bid on at the tax sale. Many years later, additional notices may have gone out, and so what Civic Source does is once we receive a deposit for someone who wants to buy one of these properties, is an extensive amount of legal due diligence, of really tracking people down, using advanced skip tracing techniques, finding deceased persons who may have had an interest in that property, who now they have legal heirs all over the country. And this is the burden of getting title insurance, because there's legal requirements and then there's title insurance, which is way higher. And that's been really the difficulty in this before now has been nobody's been able to really get title insurance on these properties, which is really key. And so by providing this extensive notice, everyone who has an interest in the property can have one last chance under state law to come back and pay everything that's owed and stop the property from going into an auction.
Okay, well, my next question, and my final question is, when will the properties be available? When's our first auction?
So there actually are properties available right now. They've been available for a certain amount of months. There are 9 properties that are currently, I've already received a deposit, and are have moved through the legal process and are waiting to go into one of our monthly auctions. Now remember, it only takes one person to put a deposit, and that depositor does not have any greater rights to the property. It's just the one person who got the wheels moving. Once it goes into a public auction, it is live. It is available to the general public to the highest bidder. The auction's at civicsource.com. You do have to register ahead of time, but it's free to register. The winning bidder would get the title to the property. But in addition to those 9 that already have received a deposit, there are 38 others that are waiting for a deposit right now that you can go on civicsource.com. It's free to use the site. You can search for it by map or by list view and filter all your kind of search parameters, so you can really zone in on where you're interested in finding property with full color pictures, and you can search for what you want. Then there are another 50 or so that are going through our vetting process to validate that these are eligible properties that could be offered for sale.
Well, awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to mention about it?
October 4th is that was the date everyone's looking for. It is the first auction of a St. Charles property. I believe there is 1, maybe 2 of those 9 I mentioned are going to be in October's auction. And then remember, the first Wednesday of every month, so November, December, and so on. There'll be, just check civicsource.com. It's a free newsletter you can sign up for to be notified when additional St. Charles properties get set for auction.
And if you do have property that you've gotten a notice on, you can go to the sheriff's office and redeem that property by paying those taxes and fines in full, and your property will not be auctioned at that
Okay,
point.
good.
So that's probably
Good
the
thing to
most
know.
common question we've had. If you've gotten that letter or you're the heir, it is something you can still take action on.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on with me today.
Yeah, thanks again.
Look for the entire episode at www.scptoday.com or on SCP TV.